Hi, and welcome to So Sewn Knits. My name is Andrew, and I am a knitter, sewist, and overall fiber artist coming to you from California State Capitol. Welcome to the next episode that I don't remember off the top of my head what number this is. And if you've been watching my podcasting, you have noticed that it's been some time since I last did a podcast. A lot has happened in that time. A lot of good and bad and different things, nitty things as well. And as you can see, even behind me, we are in a new set, I guess you could say. We're just in my apartment. But things have changed a lot since you probably last saw me. So, welcome back. For those of you coming back, for those of you who are new, welcome to the new and improved Andrew, I guess, is where we're going to start with this. It has been so long and things have changed so much that I would like to kind of reintroduce myself. And I'm also going to preface this episode by saying I'm not editing this because I just don't have the energy to learn how to edit. I'm not somebody that knows anything about that. I don't have the right programs for that. I barely have the right equipment. So maybe someday I'm going to get more into editing. That's like a goal in the future of mine, to really learn more about that process of how to make good looking videos and all that. But for the time being, and especially for right now, I just felt like recording and I'm just going to do it, and I'm not going to worry about editing it or anything like that. I just wanted to put something out there. So if this is something that you're vibing with, you want to watch, definitely keep watching. Thank you for joining me. If not, no worries, no pressure. Hopefully you will kind of keep me in your radar though, because I would like to improve in the future. Anyway, so again, a reintroduction of myself. Again, my name's Andrew, like I said at the top. I am a knitter and a sewist, as you can see behind me. And I'm from Sacramento, California. Those kind of cover the main basics. What might have changed in the past is I have a lot more yarn than I did before, which is nice. We'll get into all of that shenanigans of how I've recently acquired a ton of yarn. And the biggest thing for me, there's a couple big things that have changed, and usually the life changes people talk about at the end of these. Sorry, you're gonna get it right at the beginning. I had two things happen to me recently. I guess one thing was that earlier this year, my partner and I of 6 years decided to split, which is hilarious to me now. Don't save your ahs, but my last episode, if you were to look up, it says the boyfriend sweater curse is stupid. And this next episode, this is also part of why I waited so long, because I knew the irony behind putting up an episode saying, hey, my boyfriend and I broke up. We're good. These are tears of pure, just like, not like sad emotion, but just like, I don't know. I have watery eyes. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And it's been a good thing. And it's been mutual, and we're very much still friends. And I'm so thankful for him and what we've had. But that was a big adjustment for me, and still is a big adjustment for me. And as you can see, I still live in the same place I did before, but minus one person, which has been kind of nice for me to kind of refurbish the place and spruce it up and make it look nice now that it has half the stuff it did in it. And one of which is my office. So I'm really grateful to have an office of my own. I'm thankful I have a place that I could still afford without my partner, and living it up. And it's beautiful. This is part of it, but it's an entire wall. It keeps going beyond what you can see. And I have my computer over on this side. Obviously you can see my sewing machine, but like other sewing related materials over on this side, and all my yarn up top and patterns. And that's been kind of the silver lining so far, and I'm grateful to like showcase this behind me. Hopefully it'll be more of a permanent backdrop for me, because I really, really like the way it turned out. I even painted the wall. Don't tell my landlord, but I painted the wall. So that was a big thing for 2020. And yeah, I haven't put out an episode since 2019. well, happy 2020 in March. Um, the other thing more recently happened was I recently turned 30. Yay, a new decade of life. It all kind of just happened all at once, like brand new changes. So I've been 30 as of 2 weeks now, and it's been good. I paused way too long there. It's been good, I promise. It's been, again, dealing with the breakup stuff has been some challenges, but for the most part, again, we'll talk about it's been a really good time, and yeah, I'll talk more about that later. I went to Stitches West earlier. The nice thing about Stitches West is that it's usually like the same weekend as my birthday. In fact, my birthday was a Thursday, and Stitches West started on my birthday on that Thursday until that weekend. So it's basically just a big birthday celebration for me, which is how I got so much yarn behind me. And it was a great time. I'll talk more about it later, but it was such a good experience this year. This is my third Stitches West, and definitely by far the best so far. So we'll get into that. I have no format right now, so I'm just kind of winging it. So I think I don't have any FFOs for you, any former finished objects. Kind of running low on those anyway. And I've kind of had a bit of a knitting lull somewhat in the past few months. I think partially because of all the stuff that's been happening. But I'm starting to pick it back up, especially after Stitches. And I do have some things that I'm working on right now. I don't have any FOs. I don't have any FFOs. But I do have some works in progress and just some overall chatter. So if you just want to stay here to hang out, see a couple things, then that's what you're going to get this episode. I will say, actually, I did lie. Sorry, I just realized. I have one FO, but not in the traditional sense. So, like I mentioned, I went to Stitches West, and one booth I got to know really well and got to hang out with a lot was the people from Starlight Knitting Society. If you don't know who they are a yarn store in Portland, Oregon, and they were there vending at Stitches West. And I have been to Starlight in Portland before. We went back in November to Starlight and to Portland, and it's a great store. If you're ever in Portland, Oregon, I highly suggest it. It was definitely my favorite knitting store in Portland, but there's many, but that's a really, really good one. It's just huge mostly, and great selection. And one thing that they brought with them to Stitches was cross-stitching from a local maker in Portland who creates kits for beginners. And I've never cross-stitched before, but I saw their selection and I was like, I need some of this. This looks really cool. Again, I've been in the middle of redecorating, and so that was kind of my motivation was I want one of those hanging on my wall in my not new living room, but, my newly decorated living room. And so I had two in my hands, and I was like, okay, which one do I buy? So, of course, I bought them both. And I've already done one. It was actually really fun. That was what I spent most of my time doing. Not so much knitting, but was cross-stitching. And it was super rad. I don't know, I have not done much of that in the past, or really any of it. I think I did it in third grade when we went to Pioneer School. That's a whole other conversation. But that was probably the last time I did any kind of cross-stitching, was little 9-year-old Andrew. So this is my one FO that I have to show you guys, and it is my cross-stitching that I did. This is from a woman who goes by the name of Junebug and Darling. She's based in Portland. You can find her stuff from Starlight's store, but also she has her own Etsy, which I follow her on Instagram now, and so she really doesn't recommend buying her stuff from Etsy as much. So if you can buy from her website, if you follow her on Instagram, you'll be able to find her website there. And if I figure it out or feel like it, then I'll probably link it below as well. But she has tons of kits that are just like this. A lot of them that are just purely decorative. This one's floral. They have a lot of different floral options that I was looking at. There's an amethyst looking one, like purple and yellow kind of vibes that I really liked. But this is what is kind of going on in my living room, these colors. And for some reason at Stitches, I was all about the orange and pink. Everything I bought at Stitches was orange and pink. I don't know why. And this was no exception. So This is going up in my living room. I don't know quite where yet, but I'll figure it out. And I just love it. It was super fun. It was super cool. It's totally different from what I've done, and it looks great. And I do sew a little, so it wasn't so much of a weird transition for me. Like I knew some basics of threading a needle, which even those needles are a little bit bigger than normal, sewing needles, and how to do a whip stitch. And because you do end up reinforcing the back, don't worry about this thread. I'm going to cut it off later. I just haven't done it, but you end up like sewing up some felt backing on the back so you don't see all your threads, and so that was no problem for me really. But they are beginner friendly. They're very basic and super easy to follow. I really, really enjoyed it, and I did this in like a week. So I was super obsessed. And in fact, I already am moving on to my next one, as you can see, in progress. And so far I've just really done sweet, but the full thing is it's going to say homo, sweet homo, love, love. She does have a version that says home, sweet home, traditional phrase. But and I was thinking actually, I showed my mom the cross stitching, and she was like, "That looks fun. I want to do some cross stitching." She's in her retirement phase of doing all the things, and she does pottery now, and she's back into sewing. She's the person I learned sewing from, and we have the same machine, which is really cute. So I showed her this, and she's like, "Maybe I'll get into cross stitch too." And I thought about sending her the home sweet home one, and we can kind of have a matching set. But it's been really fun. It's been really cool. If you're ever at all interested in doing cross stitching, Junebug and Darling has great kits. And there's tons on Etsy. I've learned tons of patterns that you can download that are really, really cool. But hers are great. Some of them are very political. I saw a lot of like smash the patriarchy and, F your gender roles and things that totally are up my alley. So, but if you just want some decorative floral ones, she's got those too. They're really pretty and really easy. So, yeah. So that's been a new hobby. I am still knitting though. Don't worry. It's not all cross stitching now. And in fact, I have not really done as much sewing. I have some kind of issue with my machine. I need to take it in for a maintenance check anyway. But I just haven't gotten around to doing that, so I haven't really been sewing at all. I do have a bag I did, I think like a month or two ago. So this was really just like a practice bag. The fabrics are fun. They're kind of cool, but not my everyday kind of bag kind of a thing. It was definitely just some scrap fabric I had laying around and just splotched them together just to see. And but I really like the way it turned out. This is from Noodlehead. I don't remember the name of the pattern. Again, if I think to, I'll link it down below. But Noodlehead is a sewing pattern company. It's one woman, but company. And she's got amazing patterns for bags and backpacks and pouches and those kinds of things. And a lot of them I feel like are targeted towards knitters. Like, come on, this is a project bag for sure. I don't think she markets it that way, but this is a project bag. But it has, a strap on it, which is cool. You do make your own strap. And I was even thinking of doing, I haven't done it yet, but of doing another strap that's like a little bit shorter, just like a second strap. And then that way you can just attach it and have this as your, little handheld, hands-free bag strap, I haven't done that yet. Again, machine. But it turned out really cute, and I really like it. And I want to do one in fabrics that are a little bit more everyday fabrics at some point. But that's kind of the one sewing thing I did. And this was a hit at Stitches as well, along with my other bag that I've done in the past. You guys have seen my little backpack. So many people were asking if I did commissions for those, and I'm like, sorry. Because it looks great, and I love it, and I use it all the time. But it's kind of a nightmare to sew. So I don't really want to do that for anyone else that I don't have to do it for. So this currently is housing a whip that I have. I basically, before Stitches, was not feeling very inspired to knit. I wasn't really working on anything that I loved. I had just finished a sweater. I did, which I don't have with me. Sorry guys. You can see it online. On my Ravelry, not on my Instagram. I'm very absent from Instagram too. but Ravelry I keep up with. I did a sweater. I bought the sweater quantity in Portland. It was the Wayne sweater, also a hit at Stitches. So amazing. My favorite sweater for sure. Up there with my Vavo sweater. Oh, so good. It's like an overall cable textured sweater, actually unisex, which is so hard to find. So I love it. But after that, I didn't really have anything that was inspiring me, and I didn't really know, like what to cast on. There was nothing I was really like, you can find a pattern and you're just like, oh, I need to cast this on right now. It looks so cool. I can't wait to have that. There's really nothing that was going on that really sparked that for me. So I did have a ton of yarn, and I was kind of destashing a little bit. I had some friends I was giving some yarn to, and I was going through all my yarn that I was really inspired by, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a Vertices Unite. I've already done one in the past. I usually don't repeat patterns that I knit, but this time around, my original Vertices was all knit in, I believe, a DK weight or like a sport weight yarn, and the pattern is written for fingering weight. So it's a bit heavy. Like, it's great when it's so cold outside. It was great this winter, but not so much beyond that. And I love the colors of it, but it's also done with really cheap yarn. Not that there's anything wrong with cheap yarn, but just I wanted one that was a little bit more luxurious in a fingering weight, so it was a bit drapier and could wear it in slightly warmer weather. And I knit that thing, I think 4 years ago. So I just wanted a version that didn't have the mistakes that my first one had in it, and just wanted to do another one, and I didn't know what else to knit, so I rambled, sorry. But so far I just finished section 3 of 5 sections, or is it 6? It might be 6 sections. I might have made that up. So about halfway. But so far, this is what I got going on. Here is my Vertices whip. Guys, I really like it. It's actually super cool. And when I started doing the yellow section, I really started getting that inspiration. Before that, I was just kind of casting on and cast on, and it was cool, but like I didn't have that spark until I hit the yellow, and I was like, that's great. So these are all colors of the Vertices that I'm using. But I'll be, if you've ever seen the Vertices pattern, there's a few more sections on this end beyond the yellow, and it's just different combinations of these colors we've already used. So it's 5 different colors. So that was really fun to just kind of dash dive and see what I had and what worked together and what I wanted to use. 2 of them are from a dyer who I saw again at Stitches, Black Squirrel, who is of Black Squirrel Berkeley in Berkeley, California. Such a rad dyer. Everything she has, if you haven't heard of her, she's relatively new to dyeing. I bought some of her yarn at Lambtown, which is an event in Dixon, California, just about 45 minutes towards the Bay Area from here. And she had some amazing things, and I was immediately inspired back then to buy it. I think I had it on my last podcast. So I did use that in this, and that is this kind of like peachy color, and then this green, no, not the green color, there's like a white color in here that I really, really enjoy so far. They've been really fun. And then I have this gray kind of stripe going on in here, as well as the yellow. These are from my friend Rigel of Black Market Wool. She no longer dyes, I'm sorry. I am lucky that I have some of her yarn still. But those are 2 skeins from her. And then the green is, I believe I showed it in my last podcast. Maybe it might have been before I went to Portland, but it was a yarn I picked up in Portland of Republic of Wool. Their Neptune colorway, this greeny colorway, so rad, so cool. I really, really like it. And somehow it all works together. I didn't think when I had them all as skeins next to each other, I couldn't really see how it was going to all work. Or if it was, I just was like, whatever, I'll just cast on and knit something. And so far, I think it's really looking cool. Like, I really like it so far. So this is my in-progress Vertices number 2. So that's been super fun. I realized across the room from me is another Stephen West pattern that I cast on right when it actually was published. I bought it and cast on that same day. And that was the Triangle Gram, I believe is what it's called. He released it back in probably November or December sometime. I think it was December. And that's just a scrappy. I just needed something to use up all my scraps because I don't think you can. I don't know if you can see it in the shot, maybe a little, but these are all of my cakes of scraps. On this shelf over here, like the entire shelf is all scraps. And I'm sure people have more than that, but for me, I need to use it. Like it feels like just wasted yarn because they're all just sitting there in cakes, like half wound cakes. So I started stash busting for that shawl and it looks okay, like it's cool. But I kind of wanted to use different colors, so that thing's on hold anyway. So, anyway, I have 2 Stephen West patterns on the needles is essentially my point here. But I have really been enjoying this. I have other stuff. Oh, really quick, I do have one other thing I cast on. Just because socks don't count as whips, right? So, I did just cast on a sock because, sure. And again, I was stash busting and going through skeins I've had for a while now. And one of them, actually, I realized was a skein I bought last year at Stitches. And I was like, oh, I haven't even knit with that yet. Like, I should probably use it. And the color just lent itself to socks. I was like, this isn't going to be anything else but socks just because of the way it's dyed. So I cast on some socks. This is the skein. So cool. If you are at all familiar... I'm going to give you a second. These colors are from, this skein is from Destination Yarn. And last Stitches, she had 2 show exclusives, I believe. One of them was Monterey, which I believe I've showed before. I knit some socks for my sister and her husband out of that yarn because they were married in essentially Monterey, California, Pacific Grove, but same thing. Sorry if you're from there and that's offensive. It's the same thing. You're right next to each other. We partied in Monterey for her wedding. Anyway, so that was socks for them. And then this colorway was San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. So you can see like the blue is the ocean and the whites is kind of like the fog over San Francisco. And then that iconic like orangey red color of the bridge is all San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. And as somebody who grew up in the Bay Area, whose parents kind of like formed their family in the Bay Area, I was like, yes, I need this. And I think my original thought was to make my parents' socks out of this. But A, I ended up running out of time before Christmas. And B, I was just done with socks. I made it for my sister and her husband. That was good enough. And my parents recently moved to Florida last summer. They moved to Florida, so after Stitches last year. And I don't know, I just felt like they wouldn't really wear socks. Like, I think they'd appreciate the socks that I made for them because of the story. Like, my mom's sentimental like that too sometimes, but I just don't think they actually would have really used socks. So I was like, this will be a selfish thing. I bought it. I can use it for myself. Whatever. I've got them other things, So far, I did a little contrast cuff. And this is how it's working up so far. I'm actually doing magic loop, which I don't usually do. I usually do 9-inch circulars, but I just felt like doing magic loop this time around. I got Chiagu's 1.5 US 1.5 needles, which a lot of my friends have talked a lot about, but I've never personally used. So I was like, yes, I will definitely try them out. And these are Coffee Talk socks from Tracy of the Grocery Girls. This is her pattern. And I've made a pair before, and I really like the like super deep inset purl sections on either side, like these right here. They're really cool, and they like fade into this like reverse stockinette toe. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. And I think at first I didn't like it with this yarn, but I'm in this mood lately with my knitting where I'm like, screw it. Just keep going. It's fine. Whatever. Like, I don't know. I've gotten really passé about my knitting where I'm less worried about how it's going to look. I'm just like, it's yarn and it's a pattern and it's fine. Like, it looks fine. It's gonna be fine. And if I hate it, I'll take it out and redo it. Like, whatever. I was not always like that. And but lately I've been like that, where I'm like, screw it, it's fine. So these are my in progress Coffee Talk socks. This is the first sock, so, and I've been picking it up. I think I knit on it a little bit at Stitches just because it was easy to, walk around the vendors with a sock instead of like a big shawl like my vertices. So yeah, but otherwise I have not picked it up since Stitches at all. But socks don't count. They're not true whips. They're their own category. So yeah, so that's a bit of what I'm working on. One other thing I will show you guys. I did end up doing a test knit for a designer, and I'm not going to mention it because I never finished the test knit, and I felt kind of bad. I think I had too much going on. Like, I think I tried to do a test knit to escape a little bit mentally, or not escape, that's the wrong word, but to distract myself, maybe? Keep myself busy? That's it. We'll go with that. Keep myself busy. And that didn't end up working out. And I felt bad because it's at the expense of this designer. Like, they had plenty of other testers, but at the same time, it just felt like I was ruining their testing stuff. So, either way, the pattern's been released, so if you want to snag it, you probably don't even know what it is because I haven't mentioned it, but that is also what's on my needles. So maybe in the future I'll talk more about it, but I'm also not really inspired by that at the moment. But anyway, probably didn't even need to mention any of that, but it's fine. So the one thing I recently cast on after my event at Stitches, I did end up spending a lot of money. Again, I turned 30 the day before I left for Stitches. So really that first day for me was my 30th birthday, and walked around telling everyone it was my birthday. And Stitches was great. It was, I'll just talk about it now. I was worried going to it because I have gone the past 2 years with my partner, who's not a knitter, but he would go with me and hang out and walk around. And basically, I've never gone to Stitches alone. And I've had friends that go too, and I'll hang out with my friends while we're there. But I usually will take a day off. Like that Friday, I took off to go down because it was my birthday weekend and I wanted to take the day off. But not all my friends do that. It's not their birthdays. So for them, going Saturday and Sunday is plenty, and they don't usually go on Friday because they don't need to. And I don't need to, I just want to because it's my birthday. Well, this year I had to change a bit of plans because of the breakup and like where I was going to stay and what I was going to do. But I decided to still go on Friday, but I would be going alone this time. I wouldn't have somebody with me to go on Friday. And I was kind of worried about going to a yarn event by myself. And I don't know why, because Friday I was just like, screw it, I got this, I can do this. I drove down to the Bay Area. My first stop was Stitches, to the marketplace. Walk in, and immediately, I think within like 2 minutes of me walking in, I see somebody that I know. Not super close friends with, but just somebody that I know from Sacramento who was like, hey, how's it going? Like, are you enjoying your time here? And I'm like, I just walked in. But that was my experience the whole rest of the day, and really the whole weekend, was meeting people that I either have met before, who I knew, who were really, close friends or acquaintances or whatever, just talking yarn stuff with, or meeting new people that I've only known from Instagram. That was really fun to hang out and talk with those people who I've been like casual friends with online, and then just meeting brand new people that maybe I didn't know as much about before. But it's so easy to just make friends with strangers when you're all knitters. And knitters are, I've heard so many podcasts say this, and I'm going to be another one that says knitters are just the best people. And I'm so grateful for them for that weekend, because I made friends with so many strangers that whole weekend, and especially that Friday by myself, because I had nobody kind of to worry about. Like, I'm that kind of person in partnership or relationship where I'm always worried about the other person, and even if they're fine and they don't need me to worry about them, I just do anyway and try and like appease them. But it was a lot more freeing to have that day where it was just me and I could just pop from booth to booth and person to person and hang out with everyone. And I don't know, it was a great time. And so I had a great weekend, and it was filled with, as my friend Rebecca mentioned, I was knitworking. Great phrase. Do not steal it, it's not mine. But I was knitworking all weekend with lots of knitters. So yeah, it was really cool. So a lot of the yarn that I bought 2 sweater quantities, and I actually really want to cast on the other one right now, but I had 1 cardigan and 1 pullover I really wanted to knit. And the cardigan I really want to knit sooner rather than later because it's going to be a great spring cardigan to wear, and spring lasts like for 5 seconds here in Sacramento, so I was wondering if maybe I could get it done. It probably would take me at least a month to do, which I guess is kind of still spring here. It's pretty much summer by early May. It's pretty much summer. Which is funny because in some places you guys still have snow, but in here it's like 90 degrees in May. And but even in my office, it would be nice to have a layer like this I wore to work today, just as like a casual layer. So I plan on knitting the Cythera sweater from Brooklyn Tweed, and I believe it's a Noragon pattern, if I remember correctly. It's beautiful. It's like a color work cardigan, and actually downloading it, it's a long pattern. It's Brooklyn Tweed patterns, but it's like a 4 out of 5 difficulty, and I was like, oh damn, I didn't realize. But I know I can do it. It's just gonna be not maybe as quick of a knit as I originally thought. So I've swatched for the sweater, and I gotta say, here is my swatch. It has not been blocked. I literally bound off earlier today, so I have not blocked it. But I don't know how I feel about the colors, which kind of sucks because the whole point of me when I go to Stitches is I buy yarn that I can't buy here because I do work at my local yarn store. And if there's something I could buy at my local yarn store at Stitches, why don't I support my boss and purchase it from Rumpelstiltskin? So everything I've bought at Stitches is stuff that is not available to me here in Sacramento, which is great, but then kind of sucks when I'm like, I don't know about these 3 colors. I kind of want to switch one out for something else. I'd have to buy it online and pay for shipping, and I could do that, but I'd rather not. So I'm debating on whether I'm going to do that or not. For me, it's easier to see all the colors together in person to decide if I want to. And for some reason, these all looked great in the skeins next to each other. And now knitting it up, I don't know. I don't think it looks terrible. I think it would look okay in a sweater, but I'm just not sure. I'm very unsure. I'm going to take it to Knit Night tonight and see how people feel. Get like a poll going. And one of my coworkers who's now really getting into knitting, he was telling me that it's a lot better from far away. Just like you don't notice the colors together as much. They're not as stark. So I don't know. I'm still undecided. The yarn I have would be fine, and part of me is just like, just knit what you have. It'll be okay, but I have too many sweaters like that where I just settle and then it's done and I don't wear it. So if I could just switch one skein for another, because I only needed 1 skein of each of the contrast colors. So if I just switched it out for a different contrast color, then I think that would be okay. And I think for me, it's just the fact that it's like bright color, and then a neutral. And I think some of the versions I really liked were like just 1 bright color and then all neutrals. So like a white and a gray with the brown and then like just the yellow or just the red. But you guys let me know what you think. By the time you start commenting, I'll probably have already started the sweater, but we'll see. This is my swatch so far. So yeah. I will say though, I didn't even mention what the freaking yarn is. Sorry. So this is Magpie Fibers. I've drooled at their booth for the past 3 years, and this year I finally decided I'm going to buy their yarn. So I came to them with the cardigan I had in mind, and they suggested this yarn, which is Solstice DK. The pattern calls for a worsted, but they said that the Solstice DK kind of knits up like it's a worsted, and I agree so far. It definitely doesn't feel like it's too thin or airy or holey or anything. And it's very soft. It is, I believe, 50% superwash merino, and then there's silk in there as well, and then there's cotton. I forget the percentages of cotton silk, but I know it's 50% superwash merino and then cotton and silk blend. So it's not like crazy soft, but it is definitely going to be a comfy cardigan that I'm just going to want to throw on at the office and just be snuggly in, and it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. So anyway, let me know how you feel about the colors. I will say, I'm not going to show you my whole stash. You can't find it on Instagram. Well, maybe I'll post about it at some point, but I'm not going to show you my whole stash because I did buy a lot, probably more than I should have. But the other one I'll show you is my other sweater that I have planned. The sweater I'm planning on making is the Once in Floral by Maxim Cyr. He's Max the Knitter on Instagram. Great stuff. I've test knitted for him before. I did the So Basic sweater. And he's got great patterns. And the Once in Floral is so cool. It is just the floral yoke and then just very basic, simple, sweater from there. So I worked with Jess from La Mercerie, that's an online-only shop, but she does vend at Stitches. So she has a lot of different things, but the one thing I see every year that I've always wanted is the BJ Bouche yarn. And I was like, yeah, okay, this, again, just like Magpie, this was the year. BJ Bouche, this was the year. This was my 30th, so I went all out and got the things I have always wanted the past 2 years. So I ended up buying the BJ Bouche Le Petit Lamb's Wool for the Once in Floral. It is a very light fingering, so we'll see how that knits up. I'm not going to cast on for a while. I am a strict one sweater at a time knitter. I know not everyone's like that, but I'm like that. So for me, if I don't end up casting this on, then I will cast that on. But if I'm working on my Cythera cardigan, then I'm not working on this. But let me show you the yarn. So, no. Oh, I have to stand up. Sorry. But these are my colors for my Once in Floral. And I've just been all about this pink all weekend. Like, I was just so feeling it. And I really am a blue person. Like, I really like to wear a lot of blue and neutrals of blues. So this is going to be my main color. It's this really dark blue. The nice thing about BJ Bouche is they're very simple with their color names. So this color name is Dark Blue Turquoise. That is the name of the colorway. Great, love it. And then I have these two accents. The rose portion is going to be this pink color, and it is called Light Pink. That is the name of the colorway. Beautiful. With a background of this kind of tan beigey color. It's called Medium Gray Beige. Again, very simplistic. Thank you, BJ Bouche. So yeah, thank you, Jess, for helping me pick out these colors. I love them. They're so cool. Hopefully I don't hate them when I swatch, just like my Cythera. I don't hate the Cythera, but this one's very, like, you can't go wrong. You have a nice blue neutral with a nice tanny beige neutral and this pop of pink that I've been so obsessed with. So this one's going to be a really cool sweater. Yeah, but definitely after the cardigan, probably. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. So those are my knitting prospects for sure. And I bought a ton of other yarn that all have projects in mind. I'm not going to share all those right now, probably in the future, but I did some impulse purchases as well. Like, I impulse bought at Plucky, and I got some really cool buttons for the cardigan and possible other cardigans in the future, and lots of pins and stickers and bags. Well, only one bag, but yeah, so my stitches was great. It was a great time. I had a great time with friends and great time solo even. So yeah, I has been a great 30th so far, the past 2 weeks, and a great stitches that I had. And now I'm just knitting, casting things on, getting used to my kind of new 30s, and especially my new single life. So it's been a lot of change. I'm hoping for that reason I'll probably do some more podcasting, because it's just sort of a new outlet for me. And I don't know, sometimes I really like it. I think the technology has been throwing me off, to try and navigate. That's a big deterrent because I don't always know everything, but it's kind of therapeutic to be doing these podcasts, especially this one. It's a little bit more like personal than knitting this time around, but I hope to kind of bring some more episodes to you all in the future, and talk more knitting and what I've bought at Stitches and what I'll be working on. So I think I'm going to end it here, but thank you guys for kind of watching again and checking in. Thank you for being patient if you've been waiting for an episode. Hopefully you'll see more of me in the near future. And if you're new, thanks for putting up with me talking about myself for so long. But anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and happy knitting. Bye. And I'm not going to edit this, so I'm going to awkwardly walk to turn this off. Okay, bye.